you can very clearly see.
Yeah, it went from like a 7 to like a 14.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
So, I mean, what he really, and I know that we've mentioned this to you before, and now we're actually looking into it because we've been told last week that we think that St. Luke's might have the ability to do erythrocytophoresis, but I think we've talked about in the past that would be really what you need because your hemoglobin is so high, your retic count, your body does such a good job at making new red blood cells that we're having a hard time suppressing his body's ability to make new red cells.
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I had her playing.
Oh, you're good. So part of our problem is that it's becoming an increasing battle to keep his hemoglobin less than 12.5 and to get his S under 30%. The ASH guidelines recommend that an S less than 30% in someone with moya-moya disease and a history of prior stroke is recommended over an S goal of 40%. So he sits usually between 30 and 40, somewhere in there. When we did his labs after his last transfusion 2 weeks ago, I only gave you 2 units because your hemoglobin was so high. Mm-hmm. And so we did post-transfusion labs to see how you fall, and I'm going to show them to you. So what these labs showed us is that, because my fear and Dr. Troutman's fear is, well, if I, starting at a hemoglobin of 11.2, I give you 3 units of blood, you're going to be sky high. And
but even with him just getting the 2 units 2 weeks ago, he still dropped right back down to the 10.
Correct. So that's what I'm going to show you. So here on 9/12 was his pre-transfusion labs. Your hemoglobin was 11.2. Sorry. No, you're fine. You can come in.
No, you're good. I'm going to come in a minute. We're just going to find it.
His S was 39%. So if we're saying that we want him closer to 30%, well, then we're doing not so great of a job at keeping him.
Right.
And I know that he's been on chronic transfusions for a long time, so I know that we had kind of talked about. Hold on. It's done.
Oh,
sorry. Give me 2 seconds.
We're looking into things.
So his S percent, his S is sorry, trauma distracted me. His S is, if we're saying that we'd prefer to keep him less than 30%, based on the ASH guidelines, which are the American Society of Hematology guidelines. I'm not going to argue with a bunch of people who are way smarter than me. Mm-hmm. Then we're not doing an adequate job at keeping his S percent low enough to decrease your risk of stroke, because that's what this is all about, right? We're trying to balance keeping his hemoglobin S percent low and keeping the velocity, not pushing his hemoglobin so high that he has more viscosity and higher velocity in his brain. Those are the 2 pieces that we have to balance in order to decrease his risk of stroke. So what we did is we transfused him. Mm-hmm. I took off 600. We transfused him 2 units, and we said, well, let's not transfuse 3 because his hemoglobin was so high. What this shows me, the post-transfusion labs, is that we do have room to go. Because with 2 units, we only bumped his hemoglobin up to about 11.6, and then you saw today your hemoglobin's even lower. Right. It's 10.7. So that reassures us that we have room to go, that I can give you a 3rd unit without being overly concerned that I'm going to push your hemoglobin S too high.
Yeah, but then even taking the 600 today and giving him the 3 units, he's still going to be back here in 2 weeks. So what purpose is it really serving other than pumping him up with blood?
Correct. But what he needs is erythrocytophoresis. He needs the fancy machine that allows them to take out his cells and replace new ones at the same time. The only place that does that right now is CHOP. We were told last week that St. Luke's might have the ability to do it for young adults and for teenagers. So Nurse Kim was looking into that. So that's what we're trying to figure out, because I know it would be really hard to go to CHOP, right?
It's not necessarily that it's hard. My thing is, I keep saying this will work, that'll work. We're trying all this other stuff.
I don't think it's working.
Who's going to say me taking that 2-hour drive to CHOP is going to actually help him, and we're not still going to end up back here every 2 weeks?
I mean, I guess I don't know that we're going to necessarily know that until we try it, right? Like, we only have so many options to try to keep his S percent down.
Yeah, that was initially the idea before we started doing the taking the blood off and giving him back blood. Like, Originally, his goal was under 30%, but doctors then thought because he was getting older, they can bump it up to 40%. Now that's an issue.
And I think that's part of the problem is that
he should have been left at the 30% versus trying to experiment with him like he's another child.
I think that part of the problem is that we all have our opinion on this, and I don't know that we're trying to be on the same
and that's
page.
the problem. Everybody is saying something different, and everybody is not treating him the same day that everything is happening. 1 week he'll see one doctor, another week he'll see another doctor, and y'all all not on the same page.
Correct, and that's why it took me so long to that's why it took me so long to get in here, because I've honestly all day been trying to figure out what the best thing to do for him is, and I'm struggling with that because we've tried a couple of things. We tried the simple transfusions, that didn't work. We know that his reticulocyte count has really taken off now that that happens in everybody. It's not uncommon as someone grows up that their reticulocyte count kind of bumps up.
But knowing that he was going into teenager and his testosterone was going to start raging, why not start doing this ahead of that versus trying to catch it after?
Because it wouldn't have made a difference. I can't prevent his body from making new red blood cells before it even happens. That wouldn't. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. I wish it did, because we could have gotten ahead of this and it would have made more sense. But it's not.
You can put your shirt on.
It doesn't work that way, because every 4 weeks he's making plenty of new red cells. I mean, his
it's
retic
not
count
even
is
every 4 weeks. We've been at every 2 weeks for the past.
Well, this is right. So you came on the 25th of August, and then you got transfused, and then you came back 4 weeks later, which is when I saw you 2 weeks ago, on the 12th of October of September, and then we're back here 2 weeks after. So this is the first time that we've done 2 weeks with an exchange transfusion.
No.
No?
No.
Because before that, I just have labs monthly. Because he was seen by Dr. Zinn on August 4th. And then he was seen by Dr. Troutman on August 25th. And then you guys saw me 2 weeks ago on the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're back here 2 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first time we've tried to do an exchange transfusion 2 weeks after.
I don't believe it is. Because he's been back and forth with this 2, 3, 4 weeks every time it's changing.
So when he was doing simple transfusions, was that you had been coming every 2 weeks then?
It was every 3 weeks, but him going to do his labs and calling to see if he needed to come in.
Okay. And we want to do the right thing for you. I'm not trying to cause more harm or cause more distress, but what we're doing isn't working.
I get that, and it's like y'all trying to figure out the right thing, and nobody knows what the right thing is. It's like y'all playing him as a guinea pig right now because nothing is working.
I mean, he's not a guinea pig. It's just a challenging thing. No kid is going to be the same, and all we have to go off of in terms of treating everybody the same, we use the ASH guidelines. That's what we use, the American Society of Hematology guidelines for pediatric patients. That's what we base all of our treatment for sickle cell disease off of. So it's just. There is no, I can bring up the guidelines, there's no recommendations for how often we should do this. There's no recommendations about how much you should take off. We have an equation that we use that determines, based on his retic count and his hemoglobin and what our goal percent S is, that's how we figure it. That's how we figured out the 600 mLs. It's an equation that we use that's standardized and used in practice. But there's no, unfortunately, it's not, there's no, they say, if you do it every 4 weeks, it'll work. Because everybody's different. And clearly, what we're doing isn't working. I mean, his retic count is 12%. So we're not doing an adequate job suppressing his retic count, and he only got transfused.
And his iron is going right back up.
Right, and that's going to be an issue if we keep trying to give if we're saying, well, we just keep giving more units, give more replacement, that's also going to increase his iron overload. And so that's why I do feel that maybe we're saying, well, we tried this. We tried the simple transfusions. We've tried the chronic exchange transfusions. It's not working. So do we move now to do erythrocytophoresis? Either at CHOP, or if St. Luke's can do it, then you can do it in the Lehigh Valley.
And then what? If that don't work, then what?
Well,
he'll be 18 soon, so I'm not going to be able to sit here and advocate for him like I can now.
Sure.
And at that point, he's not going to understand. He's just going to assume that the doctors are telling him what is right. And that's not true.
I mean, I think we're trying to figure out what's best for him. You know? That's the problem. This isn't black and white. I can't predict what his hemoglobin and what his %S is going to do. I was surprised when we checked his labs that his S
35
was 35%. I would have expected it to be lower than that. We transfused him 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
So but that's my point. Our pattern, or our attempted pattern, or our attempts to change the pattern is not working. And so what the next step is to then move to a different type of transfusion, which would be erythrocytophoresis, where we would take blood out and put blood in. That would also try to help decrease his iron overload.
That's the same thing y'all doing now. Y'all take off 600 milliliters of blood from him, and then y'all give him back 3 bags of blood. So what's the difference?
So the way that erythrocytophoresis works is it's like a hemodialysis machine.
I know the machine that's plugged up to him, taking the blood out and putting it back. Correct. At the same time. He had it when he had a stroke, but what difference is that going to do now?
Well, we probably will be able to take out a little bit more and put in a little bit more than just taking 600 off and just giving 3 units. Would be my estimate. Would be my guess. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've never done erythrocytophoresis. I don't have any experience with it because we don't do it here. So what I came in to ask you today is it okay if I reach out to the pediatric CHOP hematology team and discuss his case with him and see if he thinks he'd be a good candidate to go down there? Or if we're able to find somebody at St. Luke's would take him, would you prefer there?
Either one is fine, I guess.
Okay.
Because at this point, it just seems like we're playing a game and nobody's going to win.
I mean, I promise you that's not, and I'm sorry, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. Because that's not my goal. My goal is not to play around and just say, well, 2 weeks this time, 3 weeks that time. But
that's what it's been for the past year. And it started when Dr. Zen wanted to jump him from 30% to 40%. Because he was getting older. It's not, it's hard for you guys to plan your life and make a schedule. And I think part of the reason why he went to 40% is, okay, well, we have some data to support that 40% is decreases your, keeping you under 40% when you've been on chronic transfusions this long still decreases your risk of stroke, because that's our primary goal here. And we were trying to make a more consistent schedule for you guys, because to come here and us change it all the time is not conducive to life. Yeah, but at the same time, if he need to come for his health, I don't care about the schedule. Sure, but that's what we're trying to figure out. Healthy. I don't want him to have another stroke, and I want him to be able to be a teenager. I understand that, but that's what we're trying to figure out. I mean, in August, his %S was 46%. So we're not under 30%, under 40%, regardless, at that 4-week mark. So, I think I can't imagine how frustrating this is, and it probably seems like we don't know what we're doing. It does. But I don't know how to. We don't know until we see his numbers, where he's at. I can't predict what his %S count is going to be after today. That's why we had done the post-transfusion labs last time, so that we could get an idea. Okay, if I take 600 off and I give you 2 units, where do you lie? And you lie right at that 30% mark, and and now your hemoglobin's a little lower. And then we're 2 weeks later, and we're back up to 36%, 35.6%. What do you want to do, baby? Yeah, she can call Chop.
Okay. I mean, I don't like. I mean, I'm gonna try to touch base with St. Luke's too and see because they're closer. But I hear your frustrations. I do. Please know that. And I want to do what's best for Rashawn and you. And if our team can't even decide what the appropriate goal,
and that's my biggest issue.
% goal is, then I mean, I just personally, I like ASH guidelines because they're really smart people who make really big decisions for a lot of people, and they've looked at the data and compiled the data for patients like Rashawn who have moya and have had a history of ischemic strokes. And so, in my brain, that's what we should be going off of. But it's all about a relative risk. I don't there's no, keeping his %S goal down is what decreases his risk of stroke, and not keeping his hemoglobin keeping his hemoglobin under 12.5. It's just, how do we get there? And we're not getting there with what we're doing. Do you get symptomatic when they take the 600 off? Do you get belly pain or headaches or dizziness? No. I just want to do what's right for you guys. And I think that we're kind of we're not getting to our target.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk with the hematology team at top. Have you guys ever met Dr. Hagstrom? So he's the director of the Children's Hospital, and he's a pediatric hematology oncology doc. So sometimes when the team disagrees, I go to him, honestly, because he has more experience than, they all have more experience than me, but he has more experience than even them, and he's done this longer. And so sometimes when they don't agree, sometimes I don't go behind their back to tell them flat out that I'm going to go talk to him, but get his opinion on this. But what I would recommend is that we do bring you back in 2 weeks and transfuse you no matter what. I'm sorry. How are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? Yeah. I know we're talking about you in front of you. You're 17, so you should be a part of this conversation.
What's wrong? Hey, Sean. Speak your mind. Don't do that. Why you get ready to cry? Right. Speak. Hey, Sean. Speak your mind. It's ultimately about you, so speak your mind. What are you feeling? Right. What are you feeling? So why are you crying?
Because like, we're gonna happen to you. Like they don't even know what's gonna happen. Like they don't even know what's like happening.
That's what we're trying to figure out. I'm trying to do a better job of keeping your S% down. But what we're doing is not working. And so we tried to give you 2 units. And that's it. So we said, okay, we'll come back in 2 weeks. We're still not below that 30% goal. So that's why I'm trying to figure out the next steps that, you know.
Which means now he has to walk around and wonder what's going to happen to him because he can't get an answer from the person that is supposed to treat him.
I still think his risk of stroke right now is we're still giving you transfusions and taking out 600 ml. So we're still.
But that's not guaranteeing that he's not going to have another stroke. That's
correct. But nothing we do is ever going to guarantee that. We could do erythrocytophoresis and we're never going to be able to guarantee that. The only cure is a bone marrow transplant. I'm happy to have you go down to the cure clinic at CHOP if that's something that you're interested in. But you're correct. There is no guarantee no matter what we do. No matter what we've done for the past year. But that's a true statement. And that's not fair. To you, to mom, or to anybody.
Dr. Zane's still here?
Yeah, I can have him come in.
He need to answer that question for Rayshawn because he started this. He started this.
Yeah, if you want to speak to Dr. Zen and Dr. Chapman, I'm happy to bring them both in here. Or Dr. Zen, whoever you want to talk to. I mean,
they just need to answer that question for him because he shouldn't have to feel like this. Now that's going to be the only thing he's worried about. How is he supposed to try to live his life? Worrying about not knowing what's going to happen to him because his doctors are supposed to be curing his sickle cell or at least controlling it. Can't do that.
I mean, we're controlling it better than if we weren't doing this. His S would be 80-90%. So we are controlling it and we are decreasing his risk. Even with an S of 35%, we're still decreasing your risk of stroke. That's why we're doing this. But you're correct. I can't cure this. We can't fix this. I wish we could. Believe me. I wish we could. I live for the day when gene therapy can fix sickle cell disease. But we're not there. And so the best that we can do is try to support and decrease any risk of complication in the future. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to figure out the best pattern without trying to change everything all the time. Okay. I'll give you guys some time. I'll come back with Dr. Zen, okay? What's wrong?
She couldn't answer his question.
Oh, okay.
What's going to happen to him if they can't control it? It's that simple. Nobody can answer that question.
So you do know that you're not at the end of the road here with treatment options, right? There are other things.
Baby, don't you make him cry.
These are the tissues. You guys stay. I'll be right back. Listen. Okay. Just because she doesn't have the answer doesn't mean that there isn't an answer. Okay? This is not the end of what you can do. There are other treatment options.
But still, what if they can't find something that works and whatnot?
So my other question is have we talked about the Cures Clinic? Have we sent that referral down to CHOP?
No.
Have you thought about that?
She just said something about that the first time today.
Okay. So, here's other things. So this is someplace they're doing a lot of this down at CHOP. This is not something our hospital offers because it's transplant based. But we can send all of your information if mom gives us the permission to do so. And they can look at all of your medical history and see if you would be a candidate for a bone marrow transplant, which sounds very, very scary, but it doesn't have to be scary. And it doesn't mean that you get a transplant necessarily from a stranger. Sometimes they can use familial. But that being said, they can't use somebody who has the trait. It doesn't mean that you qualify for that either. You need to be, I'm gonna say it just very truthfully, you need to have pretty many things against you to qualify. But it would be something that you could listen to and you could at least hear that treatment option. There's apheresis. That's another treatment where it's sort of like a dialysis for your blood.
Yeah, that when you had a stroke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it would be scheduled, sort of like your blood transfusions are scheduled. It would be a scheduled thing. We're actually working on seeing if St. Luke's will offer it to our older kids, like our teens. Because we have a few teens that we would think that would probably be a little bit better for them at this point. So, Ray, this is not the end. This is not like the end all of all treatments. There are other things out there. There are institutions all over this country that do sickle cell research and who have lots of different treatment options out there. So I don't want you to think that there's nothing else that can happen. Okay? Okay.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
So you can now start using your questions. Okay? Okay. You're welcome.
Talk with me, yeah? What's going on?
Okay, I'm outside.
So, what's going to happen to me?
What do you mean? Give me some context to that question, man.
Because I can't find anything to do to help my stuff go down for my health and stuff. So then what happens if you guys can't find anything that can help me do that?
Why do you think your health is going down?
You guys are trying to control my S numbers and stuff like that, and everything that you guys are trying is it's not working or something. So
I don't know that I would say it's not working. We're keeping you in the 30 to 40% range. Now, you guys were asking about the percent goal, and we've been keeping you. Our goal is 30% right now. We had for a little while had you over 30%, and I wasn't pushing it because I said, look, there is data to show that after years on therapy, we can have you at 40%. But you're pretty close to 30%. Now, when testosterone is a growth hormone, and it makes your red cells go. And we know that after you get blood, eventually you need more blood. That is a common pattern. So I think this is frustrating because all of a sudden you hit puberty, and now it's been a lot harder to control your S. But I don't think it's that we're so far out of the realm that you're unhealthy. Like, do you feel less healthy?
No, it's not necessarily that, but it's just like when I hear you guys talking about this stuff, it's like it's like just a whole bunch of things flying around, like options and stuff like that. You never you guys can it's like you can never just stick to one plan that works.
Okay, so I think part of that is that we're talking to you guys more about it because I know how frustrated you are. So I think that right now, when your hemoglobin started going up, I did have to start pulling out more blood. That's true. That's true, because when you started coming in over 10.5 consistently, which didn't start until the beginning of this year,
when he had COVID, and then they gave him the 2 units in the hospital. He came to the clinic that next week. You gave him 1 unit, and then he was right back 3 weeks later. That's when his numbers started jumping all over the place.
I don't think his numbers are jumping all over the place, though. You're living at about 10.5, give or take, 1 gram. So you're rarely under 9, you're rarely under 10, and you're rarely over 11. So when you say, tell me what you mean about your numbers jumping all over the place. Because I know that you've been frustrated every time you've come in, and I'm trying to understand why you think things are so fluctuating right now. I know we're bringing you.
It went from him getting 2 bags every 3 weeks or possibly every 4 weeks, depending on his numbers, to, okay, let's try to take 500 from him and give him back 200. And he come back every 3 weeks, and that's not working. So let's take 600, and he come back every 2 weeks. It's like, when does he get to be a child?
Okay.
Not only is he missing school, but this is also a day that he has to miss work from both of his jobs.
So I think that really your numbers started climbing. That's true. When you hit puberty, your numbers started climbing. And so you have been consistently over a threshold where I felt comfortable giving you enough blood. But I think that those in my mind, going from simple transfusions at 2 units to where I could not consistently keep you under 10.5 at your nadir, so that I wasn't getting you too high, because I would have been pushing you up to 13 on your hemoglobin. That was a gradual process that happened. But since we've decided to start taking off 500 and giving you back extra blood to try to suppress your bone marrow a little better, we've only been doing that for 2 cycles now, the extra unit, right?
He's been getting 600 taken off for the past 3 or 4 visits. They take 600 off, and he gets 3 bags. The only time he only got 2 bags was 2 weeks ago. And the other time he's gotten 3 bags.
That's only been recent. That's only been since August we added the 3rd bag.
Yeah, but it's every 2 weeks.
Why don't we, I think that we can push you to 4 weeks. I don't think I need you to come.
It's been 2 weeks this time, and his hemoglobin was a 10.7 and his S was a 35%. So how would we pushing him another 2 weeks?
Because we're giving you the 3 bags this time. Last time you only got 2 bags, right?
Because he was at 11. and they were scared that they was going to push him too high.
Okay. How do you tolerate taking the fluid off? My understanding is when we take the 600 off, you start to get dizzy and that you're not tolerating taking more off. Is that true?
What?
How do you do when we take out the blood? Do you have any troubles with your taking out of that blood?
No.
Okay. So I'll talk with them. I think we should continue doing the every 3 to 4 week. And I think that we can I think if you're tolerating taking off the 600, even if you're at 11, we should be able to take that blood off and give you the blood. I know they were nervous last time, but I think that as we're giving you this blood, we're trying to suppress your marrow. And so when you say we're fluctuating the numbers all over the place, I think they're actually a fairly narrow band of where we're fluctuating. And we're trying to adjust as we go, but I don't think we're making huge adjustments. I think we've been making kind of smaller adjustments. And I know for your life, we need to get you on a steady schedule, but we've never been over 40%. And for a while, we had floated your goal up to 40% because we felt that maybe we could.
He was at 51%.
That's never been our goal, though.
Yeah, but there was a time that he's been at 51% because he was supposed to come 3 weeks, and when he did last within 3 weeks, oh no, he can wait another week. So then, he goes sky high.
Yeah, I don't want to delay him to over 40%. We aren't doing that.
Yeah, but y'all done it in the past, which is probably why we're having this issue to now where y'all can't control it.
That's because you're in puberty and your testosterone is making your red cells grow more. That was so long ago. That has nothing to do with where we're at right now. So the reason we're talking about the option of doing erythrophoresis, is to try to bring you a more satisfied level of care. It's not because I think your health is so bad right now.
But you can't guarantee that it's not either.
I can't guarantee that his health is not good.
Yeah. His numbers are all over the place. Y'all say he reproducing the red blood cells faster than y'all want him to. How do y'all know he's not going to have another stroke, even with y'all taking the 600 off and giving him back 3 bags of blood? Not only is it pushing his ferritin back up high, so that's going to mean that he's going to have to go back on the Jadanu now.
There is never a guarantee that what we're doing is going to stop him from having a stroke, but trying to keep him in the range. The data we have is that we are protecting him from having a stroke with where his numbers are at. If you would like the reason we're talking about erythrophoresis is it's a much more steady, dialed-in procedure. Have we explained what that is and why we've offered it?
I know what it is. He had it when he had a stroke.
Okay. So the benefit of that is that it's a more stable thing. We have a lot tighter control, which is why right now, if we're looking for a way to get the tightest level of control, that's why I was offering that. So that it's more stable and they just punch in what your goal afterward is.
Scary because he turns 18 not too long from now. Going to a whole new doctors that don't know him.
Well, I'm sorry it's so frustrating right now. We are doing our best to get this under control. I know you've been frustrated every time you've come here, and I'm trying to do my best to get you in a good position to control this.
It's always, let's try this, or let's do this, let's change this, and it's not doing anything. What was it, a week or two ago that your foot was hurting? A whole pain crisis, so what is it doing? He hasn't had a pain crisis in years.
I think we are not as fluctuating as, like, I know that it feels like your number, I don't know, I when you say it's fluctuating all over the place, I feel like it's fluctuated a little bit, but it hasn't been such a dramatic fluctuation.
But it's dramatic enough for y'all to keep changing the plan that y'all want to do. 1 week he see one doctor and they say, okay, let's do this. Then the next week is the other doctor that's changing it. Let's do this. Then the next week is, oh no, so we're going to do this because this will actually work. It's like y'all all not on the same page and y'all all seeing the same patient.
Okay. We talk every week about this. I don't know how to, I will talk with them again about it. We've talked about the plan and they're on board with the transfusion. I've included Dr. Hagstrom in this plan. So every physician here talked about the exchange when I started it, and I have communicated that goal with all of them and that plan with all of them. The best I can do is respond to where his numbers are at and what his blood is showing us. When are you coming back? In 4 weeks? Or 3?
She's had 2.
Okay. I'll talk with her. I talked with her. I think let's at least see where your numbers are at in 2 weeks, and we'll make a decision if we want to do another transfusion. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I think that the bigger picture of doing the exchange transfusion to give us enough room to give blood, and then deciding how much blood we can do, is not changed. It's saying, okay, we're going to try to get. So we're having to do the chronic exchange transfusions, and doing our best to take some blood out and make room to give new blood before your next transfusion. And the best we can do is look at where your number is at within that 2 to 3 week window right now, or 2 to 4 week window. And I'm doing my best to get this under control. I think when you hit puberty, your testosterone took your numbers and shot them off. And since we don't have the ability to do the erythrophoresis where we just dial it in, the best I can do is to see the numbers and do our best to try to keep working to get that trend in the same place and going in the right direction. And it's been stable at just around 30% to 32% since we've been doing this. It hasn't been going up to the 50%. Yeah. We'll see what the numbers look like when you come back, okay?
You still didn't answer your question, did you? I wish Dr. Lydia was still there. Hi guys. That was personal, emotional at the same time. But a day in my life.